I get it. Telling people accent doesn't matter makes sense, especially for those of us who's still afraid of speaking English. We should care less about an accent and overcome our anxiety first. However, once we overcome our anxiety, here is a reality check. Accent does matter and is much more important than we think. By unwrapping this crazy idea, we will go over some essential concepts and theories in social psychology. I will also share with you one exercise that can help you to find your accent. If you're new here, my name is Wen Kai. I'm a recent graduate from University of Alberta, studying psychology and sociology. And for the past 3 years, I work closely with students from all over the world and help them to achieve academic success and personal growth. I'm not sure if you have the same experience, but when I talking to people in Chinese, I tend to change my accents based on who I'm talking to. 哥，来份猪肉包子。阿里昨天跟阿珍做了些什么？真的假的？他要跟其他女生去溜冰哦。I know it's definitely not perfect, but I always try my best to adjust my accent so other people feel a little bit more comfortable when talking to me. I thought it's something weird to do, but turns out it's a perfect example of communication and commendation theory. CAT. Essentially, it's our willingness to adjust our accents based on a social interaction. Convergence means when other people talking to you, you are using a similar accents, pitch, tone, or even nonverbal behaviors.
Well, if I didn't hear you, I'd say, A?
In contrast, divergence means purposely acting, speaking in a different way so that other people can notice the difference.
I was wondering if you could teach me some local phrases.
Well, it's very hard to bring them to mind. This is the thing. It's all right when your eyes are not going and happy eyes.
Let's imagine our accents as a dot between convergent and divergent. We are moving around the dot as we talking to different people. So essentially, having accents or not is not a yes or no questions, but finding a balance between convergent and divergent. But here's where things are getting tricky. One study have found people who imitate an accent tend to be more socially attractive compared to people who using their own accent. But the flip side of the coin, not surprisingly, our accents is also part of our cultural identity. Some people refuse to have American accents because they don't want to pretend to be somebody else. Others might also feel offended when people couldn't guess the nationalities based on their accents. So our accents is interchangeable depending on our social circumstance, yet interconnected with our cultural identity. So what is my advice? Should we get rid of our accents or sticking to it? Well, the answer is neither. We should possess accents that can be understood. Quote from one study, a good accent is understandable and fluent. We can have our own flavor to it, but we gotta make sure other people don't feel like there's a barriers when talking to us. So here's a little exercise for you. Grab a piece of paper. The left side is your native accent, and the right side is the accents that you're learning at the moment. And for me, it's Canadian accent. Draw down a point at which you feel the most comfortable. How do you want to represent yourself? And this would be your hyper accent. It's understandable and fluent, yet tied to our cultural identity. For me, it's the 80-20 mark. Since I study and work in Canada, I spend majority of my time talking with the locals. I want them to know I'm Chinese, but at the same time, I don't want them to stress too much about understanding my accent. I think no matter what language are you learning, I think it's essential to respect others' culture. That being the case, try to learn their accents, their slangs, their ways of communicating. Especially if you are an international student, I think that can give you a higher chance to get the full studying abroad experience. However, if you don't necessarily need to talk to a native speaker all the time or living in an English-speaking environment, in this case, it's up to your interest and comfort level to decide whether you want to take the extra steps or not. As a Chinese who living abroad, having Chinese accents also helped me to represent my culture and showing people the younger generation in China. For the past 6 years, I'm really proud to be part of breaking the stereotype of Chinese people can't speak English well or they're always quiet. So no matter what was the initial reason for you to learn English, I encourage you to stay humble and curious. Have an open mind to learn more about the culture behind the language you're learning at the moment. And most importantly, be proud of who you are. Having an accent is super cool.